We have 3 presentations lined up for this morning, and I can gladly say that I can make some kind of connection with each of these 3 presenters. The first presenter, Ms. Ward, works in my city. The second one, Dr. Durham, is in my profession. And the third one, Dr. Srini, which I'm hoping he'll be here in time, actually is from my country. Ms. Ward is going to talk about mobile GIS and how to integrate mobile GIS with solid waste management. And she actually has her bachelor's in the BSDA. Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Thank you. From Old Dominion University, and her MBA also from Old Dominion University. And she will be presenting the City of Durham's solid waste management's efforts to integrate mobile GIS.
All right, thank you. It's a little loud. Well, good morning. To follow Rakesh, my name is Felicia Ward, and a little bit about my background. I am an IT major, and the majority of my work experience has been within GIS. And I've found that GIS has really supported efforts in cleaning up business processes and allowing business processes to meet business needs. And that has been a challenge in changing cultures during budget crises. And those are some of the things that I'm going to discuss. So this presentation, this quick presentation, I call it an intimate discussion between friends. We're going to go over, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the City of Durham, the technology that we're currently using, the steps to a successful integration, as well as lessons learned, and how we plan to expand on our technology success in the months ahead. So, as we all probably came in contact with over the past couple of months, we've been all facing this budget crisis. I started with the city in 2009, and I believe when I started with the city, the budget, our solid waste management budget, was around $22 million. Right now, our solid waste budget is about $18 million. So within 2 years, we've had to cut $4 million. You do the math. Now, just to give you a little bit of, those numbers may seem large if you're in a smaller city, but if you're in a larger city, just to give you a little bit of information about Durham, Durham is a city, it's the 5th largest city in North Carolina. We have about 220,000 residents. However, we collect about 67,000 service locations weekly. So, according to management, how can we meet these budgetary goals? And a lot of these decisions took place before I arrived at the city. And the main decision that management decided was to discontinue a service that was not meeting the bottom line, which was servicing our commercial residents, or our commercial accounts. So we were providing commercial service. It was a paid service, and it was not meeting the bottom line. The majority of our costs within solid waste is for the tonnage, the amount of waste that we actually send off daily. So, by discontinuing a commercial service, which is adding to our waste stream, and encouraging a service that takes away from our waste stream, that's where you get the majority of your good planning. And in order to do this, that means we had to completely shift all of the resources from commercial into recycling, meaning we had to train our drivers, we had to create routes. And the only way to do that was to implement different technologies. So these were the technology justifications. These were the priorities. Hopefully we could do all three of these in tandem. Use our resources efficiently. Hopefully that will lead to saving money and also providing better customer service. Any GIS project, any IT project should always be aligned with your goals. And it's very important for GIS analysts to understand the business and to understand the goals, because sometimes what may be stated as a goal isn't actually the goal. So the first technology that I'm going to discuss is RouteSmart. RouteSmart, a basic routing package, and these are the areas in which we use RouteSmart. Now, what I really want to focus into is the differences between the charts. Now you'll see here, before the technology integration, we had a data issue. You'll see here that for our garbage division, we had 62,000, we estimated that we were servicing 62,000 customers. And the manner in which we went about collecting that data was actually taking a pen and paper and having supervisors to go out and manually write down every single address that was being served. When was the last time y'all actually did that? However, now you notice after the technology integration, we have another number. With this number, we were able to come across this number because of the opportunity that was gained, especially with the vendor relationship. We lease our carts, our garbage carts, from a vendor, and we made the decision to ask them, to tell them, to demand from them that they would give us all of the service locations that they are delivering carts to. So that means we were able to clean up our data. So as you can see, approximately 5,000 homes we were actually servicing that were not accounted for. We try to keep our routes around 1,000 routes, 1,000 service locations per route. So you can see that that means that this number requires 5 additional routes. Now, based upon this number, that's how I had to plan my recycling routes. So you'll see here, now we collect garbage every week. We collect recycling bi-weekly. So that's why that number is cut in half. Well, you'll see that here we went from 7 routes to 10 routes. The way that we were able to obtain that data was we were able to use our pinpoint, basically our data collection devices, and I'm going to talk about that technology a little bit later on. But we were able to actually record the participation rate of all of our residents. Now, we used to outsource our recycling collection. So basically all of our customers had 18-gallon bins that they would bring to the curb every week. Well, what we did, we decided to increase the size of the bins. So now all of the residents within Durham receive a 96-gallon cart, about this big, the same size of their garbage cart. We did this because we really wanted to increase recycling. Well, in doing that, taking the numbers from the vendor that we used to use, the participation rate was around 50 to 60%. When we decided to insource the recycling program, the participation rate in certain areas grew to 94%. Our average participation rate in Durham is around 85%, and taking into account all of our demographics. The way that we were able to capture that information was to take certain routes, give data capture devices, and allow the drivers to go out and pinpoint every cart that's out. So That means that we now had an idea, a way to justify what we already knew, that we needed more resources, we needed more bodies, we needed more trucks. And that information was delivered to upper management, to the city council, to the city manager, and they were able to give us some more bodies. You'll also know that the bulky item and brush collection, the way that this program used to work was that we had 4 crews. They would go out in one particular quadrant, ride around to see who decided to send something out, and then on the end of the week they would go pick it up. That just doesn't even sound efficient. So now what we do, and then also they're only servicing approximately 1/4 of all of the residents within Durham a week. So now what we're able to do, we increased our services during times of budgetary crisis, and because of the technology, we're able to pick up all of our residents weekly. Also, one of the things that RouteSmart allows us to do, we are able to track misses by collection day and by collection route. So a miss is considered a person, you have Miss Jones, and she swears, you guys did not come by and pick up my garbage, I want my garbage picked up right away. So that's considered a miss. Well, now we're able to say, we're able to detect trends, to be able to say, okay, well, this particular driver has had 50 misses over the past month. Now we're able to tie that information back into performance appraisals and performance evaluations. And now we have a standard to compare. We didn't have the ability to do that before. The output, we had the data, but we could not relate the data spatially so that it would make sense within our environment. And that's what RouteSmart has allowed us to do. So this is the timeline, and the main thing that I want to highlight here is that when I started out with routing requires a lot of information, and it has to be specific, it has to be accurate. The more information that is correct, the better your routes will be. We were able to build upon the successes so that now we're about to switch over to new refuse routes, new garbage routes, and now we believe that we have the most accurate data. I would say one of the most difficult things with implementation is it's very dependent upon the culture that you're working in. So it really has been a culture shift and an effort to increase trust and reliance on technology, when before there was none. So now we'll get into our asset management / location device. I have a sample of what we are using. If you don't mind passing that around. Please feel free to press all the buttons you want to, drop it, kick it, whatever you want to do. It doesn't belong to us, we're testing it. So